Look, the feds on my phone when you talk to me. So crazy bitch, don't talk to me. All on my Facebook stalking me. Posting statuses about what you wanna be. You got a new nigga, right? Why you talking to me? Trying to say that you doing great, but every other post is about some hate, and every single post is about someone else.
My guest today is pervasive in the scene. His movement is growing and growing and growing on a pretty much on a daily basis, and here to talk about his new single, his video called Hometown, his life and work with another gentleman by the name of Sam Lachow. Please meet Mr. Raz Simone. Raz, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start from the very top. First, your name and the history, behind the Raz brand. What's up?
Okay, so I used to go by Raspy, and that was just because I had a raspy voice when I was younger and everything. So I've always had a raspy voice, and that was my performance name, Razpy. And even had a band called Raspy and the Vigilantes, and that band consisted of me, a few of my friends, my childhood friend that played the guitar, so 2 guitarists, a drummer, and then 3 singers. And one of those singers is actually Ray Dalton, Macklemore's singer now. And so we had a lot of talent, but it's just hard working with so many different personalities. But so it was Raspy and the Vigilantes, and then I went on a couple year kind of hiatus from music where I wasn't really doing much music, and I was just in the streets. And then in the streets, people called me Raz, so for short. And then that just made more sense to just go by Raz, because that was what I was called all the time, and that was closer to me, and it's a lot easier than saying Raspy. So I started going by Raz, and then the Raz Simone came in because that's my real name, and it's like I kind of keep on going more towards towards the beginning, towards who I am. So you got that Raz side, and you got the Simone side, and so that's what it is.
And how long have you been active with music, or when did you start?
I started music. I used to sing in the church, and I used to sing at the old folks' homes and things like that. And then music wasn't a part of my life at all. I didn't see any kind of importance to music. I've always been an objective person, and there was very purpose filled, and there was no purpose for music in my life. So until I became about 14. I was in creative writing class, and I realized I really liked writing a lot. I've always been good at writing. I got 100% on my writing in the WASL, 99% reading. I've always been on top of writing and loved it. And so when I was in middle school, we had a creative writing class, and we went and we started writing poetry. And I realized that I really loved it. And then started doing some poetry slams and going forward with that. I would be sitting down, maybe watching a movie like Lord of the Rings or something like that, and I would hear these movie scores come on, and dum, 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 and I'll start doing my poetry to it, and it was because my poetry is always rhythmic, and so even if there was no beat, but I'd go to these movie scores, and I'd start rapping. What I realized, it wasn't until 7th grade that I even really knew who Tupac was. I had never heard of a Tupac song really, because I stayed that far away from music. So then at that point I started realizing other people were doing what I was doing, because when I was younger I thought of rap as I thought it was corny. The rap that I would even hear at all would be just gonna or just be about a girl or something like that, and so I just didn't care to know who was making it. I didn't want anything with it, and then the melodies didn't capture. They didn't But then when I heard stuff that did, I was like, oh, people are doing this. So then from there, I was like, well, how are they making this music? How are they putting this on there? I hear their voices recorded, but how is this happening? I have my little walkie-talkie, my little recording device, and that wasn't high quality. I was wondering, how are they putting their voice on here 3 times? How's the chorus having their voice layered? How is this, sound effect coming about? I was totally ignorant to the process of recording music. So then I started doing some research, and I found out that, oh, there's a recording studio. Okay, so, what is this? got on my Google, started, calling up people, asking around, figuring out how this happened, this process happened. And then I found this recording studio, and the recording studio charged $50 an hour. At that point, I've always been like a kind of resourceful person, Huckleberry Finn type. So I got all my friends to support me, and I had like a friend who was like a sponsor, and so we would go out to the studio, and he would sponsor me by paying for these hours, just by believing in me that we're gonna make something of it, and I have to actually go back and pay him like tenfold, but yeah, so. That was cool. So when I first got there, I had like all these papers full of writing, and he put a beat on, and so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll put this to this. I got this song already written up, and I started trying to rap to it, and I couldn't. It wasn't on beat. I couldn't get it. So I was like, oh damn, like what if I'm rhythmically challenged? Like what if I can't rap to a beat? Like and then I got all these people behind me like believing in me, and I can't get it to this beat. So I was like, oh shoot. So then what we did is we made this new beat. And then I took it home and I wrote to that. And I realized that's what it was. Like I had stuff that was already written to a whole different pace. So once I wrote this new beat, I was on point and I could do it. And so did that. And then from there, recorded a few songs. Linked up with some good people. Started rapping and doing performances with like E40, Kick the Sneak, like jumping on different shows like that when I was 15. Got signed to a little local label when I was like 14, and just kind of went from there.
I see. I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage because I, a lot of the information that I receive comes from, a lot of great resources who and it was Casey Carter who brought, got my attention, regarding you. So I really don't, it's a disadvantage because by the time I found you, I already saw the amount of hits, the amount of fans, the amount of followers that you have, and it's very impressive. But take me back to perhaps that breakthrough song, or that that first period where you realized that you could make a true go at this. Can you take me back to that moment or that single or whatever it was that kind of put you over that hump?
Would be 10 Feet Tall.
10 Feet Tall.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was where I started seeing that, people are watching this in Turkey. People are watching this in Russia. Like, all these different places. Got a lot of views, like more views than I've ever, that was the first thing I put out, and it was pretty rapid. Started getting a lot of blog love, like blogs all over the world, Japan, like all of the Northwest stuff, and so that was like really cool to see that, especially in my home is recognizing it. That was like the biggest thing. 'Cause there's another saying that I have is a prophet is respected everywhere but their hometown. And it's one of those things where when you go out, you have to go out and get that fire, and then once people see that, other people like them, now we want to like them. So that's like one of the biggest things that you can accomplish, and being able to accomplish that was a big accomplishment to me. And then there's other ones. Every time that we put out something, every time I put out something, it's like, wow, this one's way bigger. So it's like every time it gets bigger and crazier. And then and every one of my songs is really close to my heart, so it's like every time it's very fulfilling. Okay. So.
And now you're working pretty heavily with Sam Lachow, another big entity here in the Northwest. How did that association start? And where was the thinking behind the affiliation?
Yeah. So
kind of the history behind it.
So we started doing music because I had this recording studio on 8th and Pine, and it was mutual friends. Some of his friends from his neighborhood, which are my friends also. They wanted to do some music with me, and so they came through. And then they're like 5 minutes away. They're like, "Hey, is it cool if we bring a white boy through?" Yeah, no, he's cool. He's cool. He's got a camera and everything. He likes to shoot. He shoots videos for us and everything like that. Is it cool? I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Just bring him up. So it's Sam. He comes up and he's got his camera. He's like, yeah, what's up, guy? What's going on? Hey, and he's just like running around my house and stuff. I'm just like, okay. And he was just like shooting stuff while we're going. And we ended up they ended up scrapping their verses from the song because like when I put the verse on, they were like, "Oh, we don't like ours. Let's just not even do it right now." But Sam was like, what he said, he was like, he heard my music and he's like, "This is something I like. I've never heard anything like this before. Do you mind if I just like record you and make a video for you?" I'm like, "No, go ahead. You know, I'd love to." And so we just did like an impromptu recording there off of the verse that I just laid down, and he, you know, made a video of it and put the video up and out, and it's on his channel. It's called The Love, and that was something that happened like years ago, like maybe 4 or so years ago. And then from there, he ended up coming through again, and like he recorded another video for me. He was like, he wanted me to get on some of his songs and stuff. He's like, "Bro, I'll record these videos for you for free if you hop on my songs and stuff." I was like, "Man, I'll just do that for free, like whatever, no tit for tat." And so we kind of just started doing music there. And then he put out I think 2 albums, and I'm featuring on both of his albums, Brand New Bike and Avenue Music. And so, and then from there, the feedback that we were getting from those feature songs was good. Like people were like, every time it was like, "Man, we love Raz, we love you and Raz, like together, like da, da, da." So a lot of people wanted us to do more music together, and at that point we kind of mutually decided that, hey, it might be a good idea to like put out a project together. And that's when we decided, let's make this project that might have 5 to however many tracks on it and do like an EP type of thing. And that's how we came about with 5 Good Reasons, and we just got in the studio and started putting it together.
Wow. Well, you know, whatever you guys are doing, I mean, it's completely working. You know, I mean, it's really resonating in the marketplace. You know, I noticed on your solo appearance with Hometown that you really do have a lot of hometown support. You really do have a lot of, you know, Seattle-based support, which is really important. And I noticed with the video, I was so, it kind of took me by surprise, you know, toward the end of the video when this other story emerged, you know, where you know, some text went up about New York and about some things that have been going on with you. And today in meeting also, we're also hearing that, you know, there's a situation in Atlanta as well. And I know that in order for you to move forward, you know, that some of the stuff has to be cleared up. Is there anything that you want to say regarding, you know, what you know, New York was all about as well as Atlanta?
Well, yeah, I mean, so I guess going in chronological order, because yeah, this is something that the viewers, you know, my fans don't really know about. When I shot 10 Feet Tall, that was because I was leaving Seattle just to kind of cool off a bit, and we ended up calling it a Jesus mission because I have my ice cream truck. I have this big blue ice cream truck, and I hopped in this ice cream truck and ended up picking up people, you know, some random like people that I just met, some friends that I you know, just became friends with pretty recently and everything, and then a couple of friends that were good friends I've known for a while. Got in my ice cream truck, picked up a few people, and just, you know, was just like, "Hey, you know, I'm going to be driving to Atlanta and wherever else in this ice cream truck. If you want to come." And people just dropped everything that they were doing and came. These people that have like, you know, that have cameras, that shoot stuff, that edit, that, you know, that just like music, you know, just people that are like-minded in certain areas. Even went and drove to San Diego and that picked up some people out there, and, you know, we're just driving around and finding these different talents. And so we ended up leaving with like a dozen people. So that's why we kind of called it the Jesus mission. And so we all dropped everything and left out on the road. So we had a lot of different adventures on the way, as you can probably like expect when you're driving through, you know, driving through all of these states in a big blue ice cream truck with a smorgasbord of different cultures and people from different backgrounds. So it was interesting. But then when we got to Atlanta, we were shooting our own videos, and there was like these guys that wanted to get a video shot, they said. And so we went to shoot their video, and when we got there, they tried to rob us. So these guys, there was 3 of us, me, my one friend, and my other friend. Like the friend behind me had a camera in his hands and a tripod and everything like that. I'm standing here, and these guys come up on me, and they're like, yeah, so we want to get this shot, over here, and then a shot like this, and then somebody comes up from behind him with a gun, and it's like, freeze, get the fuck on the ground, get the fuck on the ground. And then at that point, he pulls out his gun. The other guy is standing by the car. There's 2 gunmen, and I've got these 2 guns to my head. I'm not moving. I'm just being obstinate, not moving. And then I'm just as he I waited for the movement, because as he was like on me, then one of them went over to the camera guy, because they were trying to take us for our equipment and whatever else that we had. I had chains on me, rings, stuff like that. But so he goes over to the to the camera guy with the equipment, and at that point I saw a time, so I went and did some kind of move and ended up disarming the gunman that was on me. Then grabbing his gun, turning it around on him, and then opening up so that I had both of them in my view, so it wasn't like I had a gunman behind me. And then I was like, get the fuck back, like, let us leave, get back. I'm not trying to shoot you, but get the fuck back. As this is happening, there's witnesses that are driving up, pulling up, staying there, then driving off, because they don't want to be in the midst of a fire. But clearly there's some calls being made. There's like 2 kids. There's like they look like they're teens, but they're like, there's a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old that I found out later that were watching, and they were in the house that these guys had came out of, and they're just sitting there like jumping up and down, watching this all go down. And so then finally these guys, kind of back off, leave. One had already ran off into the bushes, and then he kind of like runs back up, gets in the car, and then they drive off like like with the gun out, and then put it in and then drive off. We're in this big ice cream truck, so I'm like, okay, let's get out of here, because this is their neighborhood. We're on their block. I'm thinking that they're probably going to just drive around, circle around, and then shoot us up and then drive off. So I'm like, let's get out of here. So we hop in the ice cream truck and try and speed off as fast as possible. We get down like 13 minutes down the road back towards where our hotel was at, and then I see this cop car with its lights off, who's like 30 feet behind us. We get to a stoplight, and he's still behind us, and he's doing like these little zigzag motions, real slow, staying like 30 feet behind. And I'm like, okay, you guys see that? Yeah, you guys ready? They're like, yeah. So, I think that the stoplight was held, by the police or whatever, because then, as we're at the stop sign, out of nowhere, cops come from every intersection, on the sidewalk, on everything, and just swarm up trucks, like K9 unit, like just, it seemed like almost every cop you could find in Atlanta was just swarmed up in the middle of the intersection and on every corner. And then now they're telling us, freeze, get the fuck on the ground. And now instead of getting robbed by these guys, we're getting robbed by the police. So this time we actually get on the ground, and they go through our stuff and all that. I end up going to jail, and so the issue was, so if I just had a regular gun, I would be fine. Like if it was my gun, I'd be fine, because I'm over the age of 21 in Atlanta. It's fine to have a gun in your glove compartment or in your trunk or whatever. As long as you're not concealing the weapon, you're fine. But the issue was that the gun that I took from him had a defaced serial number. The serial number was scratched off on it, so that's a separate charge where it's a defaced serial number on a firearm. And then they're charging me with that, and then they're also charging me with 2 counts of child cruelty for the 15-year-old and the 12-year-old who were with them, but were sitting and watching me, almost get robbed. So now I'm getting charged with these things when I was being victimized, but I'm getting charged for it because they couldn't find them. I wasn't gonna tell on them, like I had have their information, but I wasn't gonna give it up. So I'm just dealing with it as it comes. So now I have this pending charge. I've got a lawyer who I paid out in full, and he's just keeps on continuing the case, continuing. So it's like one of those things where it's like, I know I have to deal with it, but it just keeps on getting continued. So whatever. But
And then you went to New York.
So then, bringing back to speed, I went to New York like March 20th
Of this year. Okay.
Like a month ago. And then I went the only time that I've got a round trip ticket in ages. I usually just fly places, figure out when I'm going to come back, or because I might not even come back to that same state. I might go somewhere else. So, but I got a round trip ticket because I had an interview at Q93 that Sunday, and then I had a studio session later on that night. So I knew I had to be back. So I was like, I got a round trip ticket. I was only supposed to be in New York for 2 days. So I got there. We did a interview at St. John's. We did a show at St. John's. We did a show at Gramercy Theater in New York. Great shows. Great interview. And then when I was going back on my way to get back, I flew out with my gun because of this Atlanta stuff. So now when I travel, I fly with my firearm. So I had already flew legally with it, checked it in, did all that. So now I'm ready to fly back with it. So I'm checking it in, going through all the process, check it in. Then I go through the line and go in. And then they like pull my bags aside. They pull me aside. They're like, okay, we have to go through your stuff. Just wait. And then someone comes up to me and they're like, we found a firearm in your luggage. And I'm like, yeah, you found a firearm in my luggage. I'm flying with my gun. I'm declaring it. They're like, did you declare it? I'm like, yes, I declared it with the lady. And they're like, okay, hold on. So we go back, talk to the lady, and then she's like, no, he did not declare this firearm. And I'm like, I definitely did. I'm not trying to sneak a firearm in a big lockbox that, it's clearly declared. I have my slip in there from the last time. And yes. And she's like, no, he did not. And now at this point, the police are having me in handcuffs and they're looking around. I'm like, are you serious, lady? I'm like, I know that this is your job, but this is my life. Like, can you please, I'm not trying to jeopardize your job, but, can you please tell them the truth? And she looks at me in my eyes and then looks over the police and says, he did not declare the gun. She made sure that she didn't say, oh, I didn't hear him say that he had a gun. She said he did not say that he had a gun. So then I'm looking around and I see her coworker, this guy that's standing there. I was like, excuse me, sir, did you hear me say that I had a gun? He's like, yeah, I heard you. And then her other coworker comes up and she's like, no. And then she's like, well, you checked in with me and he did not say that he had a firearm. And so then they're like, and they kind of grab me like, okay. And they start bringing me off. They're like, okay, we're going to need you to make a statement. They say that to her. So I'm sitting there like, damn, I'm not even in the position to be like, hey, sir, can I get a statement from you? Because I'm in handcuffs. So they drag me off. And then they're like, actually, we don't need a statement from you. Either way, he's flying with this and it's different laws in New York. So then I was like, okay, well, I can let that slide because either way, it would be an issue because in the state of New York, you can fly in with a gun. You can't fly out with a gun. Federally, it's legal to fly to any state with a gun, but the state law in New York prohibits it. So it's kind of a trap. But so now I'm dealing with this. And then 20 days before I flew, on March 1st, they changed the laws and heightened the laws. And so now the mandatory minimum for a gun charge in New York is 5 years. That's the mandatory minimum. So, and then from all of the Sandy Hook things and like all of the different things that have been happening in the East Coast, New York has been really, really, really taking that the hardest and really being like, we need to hammer down on everything, even more than Connecticut. So, so now it's like I'm in a really weird situation. There's a boxer, Herrera, who's actually fighting Mayweather for the title or whatever. Now he had the same exact thing happen to me, the same caliber gun, and it happened about in the same week that it happened to me. He flew in with his gun. Now he's flying out. He was on his way to Vegas and he couldn't leave. His happened at JFK. Mine happened at LaGuardia. So he's still going through the same thing, and I guess we'll figure out whoever's court date comes first. I would be happy if his he resolves his issue first, or finds out what they're gonna give him, because then I can kind of get an example for myself. But it's looking very grim. Like all the write-ups that I've looked at it from him and all that stuff. He tried to employ the lawyer that I have, but she was in court, so he couldn't go with her, so he had to go with someone else. It's so similar. So it's just now I'm just waiting on that and trying to figure that out. And then the other issue is that it doesn't look very good. They can't bring in the Atlanta stuff because I haven't been convicted of it. I've been charged of it, but I haven't been convicted. So they can't bring that. They can't legally look at that, but they look at it and it's on the judge's paper, and it doesn't look good that I have a pending gun charge and there's no explanation, no anything. So that's one of those things that's like going against me right now because of that. So now I'm, kind of dealing with all that stuff, but trying to just keep on living out every day the same, act like it's not there while I'm handling my business, and then I'll go back and handle that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So creatively speaking, we hear how artists are able to take, these kind of pressures and these kind of situations and turn it into, art. Are you in a creative space right now with all of these tribulations? I mean, is this helping or hurting in terms of your creative output right now?
I am in a creative space and a persevering space. Whenever I'm never sad, and I'm definitely never depressed. Things like this don't get me down. It's just like, ooh, what do I have to do now? Like, what's going on? So it's like, it's not like bang, I'm dead. It's like, okay, I've got a wound. Now I can run to the hospital and get this, or I can get this herb and use this naturopathic method. There's different things that I can do. It's not like, man, there's nothing I can do now. So, but I will say that being in jail or being in prison is not a creative space to be at. Most people think, oh, you're going to have so much time. He's going to come out, with these, this year of being in jail or these 5 years of being in jail with so much more material now. It's not a place where it's not conducive to creativity. Like being in there for 5 days, being in there for 5 hours, whatever, 30 days. It's never been a place for me where I'm like, ooh, I'm going to get something done. I might do some reading in there, read through a bunch of books, but I'm not trying to write anything.
Well, this has really been very illuminating. I mean, there are many things that I didn't know, and I'm going to certainly be watching out for you, like a lot of people, as far as what happens next. One last question, if I may. Come rain or shine with these matters, is there a library of material that we can expect, or video, or something that comes out regardless of the outcome of these things?
Yeah, it's funny that you said, because that was like the thing that was at the top of my head. When I was in jail, I had already worked my mind out of like, okay, if I need to sit here and do 5 years, 7 years, if I have to do 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, I've already like prepared my mind to that, like, oh, I can do that. That's fine for me. Whatever that it's happened, so I'm gonna have to deal with it. I already prepared my mind to that. But the thing where my mind was so hurt and rocky about was all of the people that depend on me. My mom, family, people that need help with certain things, people that I'm not gonna be able to be there for this long. The fans. And so, because I look at my fans as so much closer than that, because my fans personally get closer to me than I feel like than a lot of people's fans, because my music is me. They're getting introduced to me. They're getting my whole story. And then, if they come to a show or they meet me, I'm actually letting them meet me. I'm shaking hands, maybe going out to lunch with them, like, building relationships naturally. Like if they're there, then they can get built. I don't like to like keep myself on a pedestal and, you see me on the stage, you don't see me anywhere else. My life lines up to what I'm rapping about. So when they meet me, it's not like, oh, he's way different than I thought he'd be, unless it's in a good way, unless they heard, a song that was like a little more dark, and then they meet me and, they say, oh, he's a cool guy, So I hold my fans very close to me, and so that really hurt that I'm not gonna be able to do this. I've had stories and letters of people, like multiple people have been like, your music saved my life, and so having that and knowing that I have that power, knowing that I have that connection with people, and then having to have that quieted is hurtful. So I definitely have a lot of music saved up. I have albums worth of catalogs worth of music ready to go, and me and my management team have already been thinking about all that stuff and how to carry on when I'm gone, all that stuff, creating all of the covers and everything, so you would hardly even be able to tell that I wasn't around if you just see me on a computer screen. So that's ready. But definitely, prepare for the worst. But I just never scared of anything, never worried. So I think that everything will be great and everything will be fine either way.
Well, clearly, I mean, for me, this has been a very different kind of interview with an A, B, and C, conclusion that could happen. And like a lot of people, I'm going to be really, really watching out, and really just hope that it all comes through for you. We have a lot to think about, Raz Simone. Thank you so much for joining us. I really don't even know how to close this, but maybe a shout out to your loved ones or producers, friends, whatever you want to do, and then we're gonna shut it down.
Okay. Yeah. Shout out to all of my people. Shout out to my neighborhood. Shout out to my mom, Yvette Simone. She's a great artist. My management team in Seattle, Brittany, Michael in New York, Sam Lachow, my guy Magic. Pretty much everybody. I hate shout outs because you're always gonna leave somebody out, but my people. Shout out. Thank you very much.